Our vision is to create a permaculture-guided tiny homestead community that has the possibility to transition to co-ownership. They call it a tiny house, but this one is huge.
So this is a bit of an odd staircase. Takes a little getting used to. Let's head over to the next space, which is my favorite.
Will you join me? Will you roll? Make this house our tiny home.
Hi, I'm Steve.
And I'm Abby.
And we're the founders of Big Calm Tiny Homesteads in the Slocan Valley of British Columbia in Western Canada.
So this is the Pocket Getaway. It's located in a really quiet corner of the property. This is our short-term Airbnb. We also offer longer-term stays, retreat-type stays over the winter. This house is a 24-foot tiny house on wheels. It came to us because a tiny house enthusiast named John reached out to us even before we were on the property and wanted a place to park his Airbnb tiny house. So this is the first pad that we built. Okay, so let's go inside. This couch actually is convertible into a bed, so it can sleep two down here. And then of course we can sleep two up in the loft. One thing that's really convenient is this fold-up table. So moving back here to the kitchen, it's just underneath the loft, but still plenty of headspace. Everything you need to cook, a microwave, a gas stove and oven here, butcher block countertops, plenty of space there. This is kind of my favorite little drawer here, everything you need to cook. So being a tiny house, we all know that storage is essential. There's actually quite a bit of storage in this tiny house. Even little cubbies built into the stairs. This is also storage here, ideal for like coats and jackets just because of the length of the cabinet. So this water comes from our spring. It is triple filtered, very delicious. The hot water is heated also with propane. The fridge is electric. And in the very back is the bathroom. What I love about this bathroom is the shower. It's not a tiny stall shower, there's plenty of space. It's about 6'4" inch ceilings, an RV flush toilet here, and then a full vanity here with, again, more storage space. So now that we're all done with the downstairs, let's head upstairs into the loft. So this is a bit of an odd staircase. It takes a little getting used to, but the idea behind it is by staggering the steps, it makes it a lot more compact, which allows for a lot more space on the main level. As you can see, there's still quite a bit of headroom. You can sit up straight. It actually is quite a bit larger than you think that it was. Plenty of room on the sides of the bed to access both sides, so you don't have to kind of roll into bed this way. There's also windows on both sides.
Our vision is to create a permaculture-guided tiny homestead community for tiny houses on wheels. We purchased this property in 2020 after searching far and wide for different spots and really liked the topography of this space as well as the potential for it in an unzoned area for tiny house living.
So to be a little bit more specific on where we're actually located, we're about an hour north of Washington State. We're about equidistant between Vancouver and Calgary. We're about 10 minutes south of Slocan and beautiful Slocan lakefront. Great for water sports, kayaking, paddleboarding. Also in the area a little bit farther from us, things like hot springs, a couple of ski hills nearby, so a lot to do, including hiking trails and even rock climbing.
So we're a community informing. We're about midway through our development. We've got one phase already completed. Our phase one is a rental model, and that's got 4 fully serviced tiny house on wheels pads. We've restored a post and beam barn loft where we currently live, and it'll eventually become our common house for the community. Phase 2, up in the meadow space, is where we'll add another 8 to 9 pads. And then phase 2 is a long-term lease, a 99-year lease that has the possibility to transition to co-ownership, depending on the group that forms. And altogether, we're looking for a community of about 15 to 25 people. So fairly modest community. The vision there is really to grow that self-sufficiency collectively, to have that resilience, to have space, but also have neighbors when you're together in a rural environment, and just to enjoy the Kootenays.
So we envision a community of tiny houses on wheels, preferably pro-built and certified. In terms of the types of people we're looking for individuals who, like us, are wanting to reconnect with nature and, like Steve said, rebuild some of the skills that we may have lost over the years. People interested in helping us steward the land, hopefully have an interest in permaculture, but above all, really reestablishing a community together and willing to work on different projects together that enrich the community.
Each of the pads comes with a fully serviced hookup. So we've got 50 amp power, we've got water, wastewater, high-speed internet, and then access to all of those amenities. So each tiny house on wheels pad is generally 20 by 40 feet. We're not divided like a strata or a subdivision. There isn't fencing between the different units, but there's plenty of space. Each person would get roughly or just under half an acre. And also freedom to, have additional raised beds or put in solar panels near your particular tinies as well.
Let's head over to the next space on the property, which is the garden, my favorite. So the garden is just a short walk from the pocket getaway. And as you can see, the garden is fenced in. That's because we do have wildlife frequenting the property, particularly deer who tend to really like to munch on our vegetables. This area is the original garden that came with the property. It's about 1,500 square feet. And as you can see, we have a lot growing here. We have 2 pollinator beds in the center of the garden, and that's so the pollinators fly in and on their way in and out of the garden, they pollinate all of our vegetable plants. We're growing spaghetti squash, delicata squash, and buttercup squash. Lots of potatoes, because they store well and they keep us fed over the winter. Growing kale and lettuce. We just harvested a large amount of garlic. We also have strawberries in the back, some honeysuckle, as well as the usual carrots and beets and chives. So permaculture is the core ethos of Big Com. Essentially, permaculture teaches us how to take care of nature, so in turn it takes care of us. Now, expanding the garden is part of our vision for collective self-sufficiency. We want to grow as much food as we can, and we invite everyone in the community to come and contribute to developing the garden and reaping the harvest together.
So the garden has a drip line irrigation system. So each of the beds is individually waterable. It's got its own valve that connects underground. On the property, we have 2 sources naturally right now. We have a creek and a spring. And then for the community, we'll also be putting in a 3rd source, so a well, to support the extra households.
So here in our garden expansion area, we have our compost station. Composting is a core practice in permaculture. Essentially, you take your kitchen scraps, fruits and vegetables, coffee grounds, eggshells, mix that, which is rich in nitrogen, with carbon-rich materials like dead leaves or dried grass clippings. And that material breaks down with the help of worms into essentially compost, which we put back into the garden, which is a fertilizer for the soil. So I think we're about done here in the garden. Let's next take a look at the greenhouse. So here's the greenhouse, another one of my favorite spaces. In here we're growing 24 varieties of tomatoes, if I remember correctly. It's a lot to keep on top of, but they produce these beautiful tomatoes. Further back here, we are growing a variety of peppers, bell peppers and jalapeno peppers, and a super hot pepper that was gifted to us from a guest that stayed in our guest stay. He brought over some seeds from Italy. So we are growing some Italian heirloom tomatoes and Italian peppers.
All right, so we're here at the top of the meadow. This is about 4 acres within the 37-acre property. This is the site of our phase 2 development, where we'll be putting in another 8 to 9 fully serviced pads for tiny houses on wheels. We're looking to build this into a bit of a loop. There'll be a ring road here, and it'll form a nice pocket neighborhood. One of the things that we've really identified with tiny house living is that it's an underserved market. Generally, a lot of parking spots are a little less desirable and packed together, but also they are vulnerable because they have campground hookups. And so one of the things that we're doing in phase 2 is to level up the lowly pad. Through a clean tech accelerator called Foresight that we've been a part of, we've invented a docking system called Dwell Dock. And it's basically skirting, decking, and exterior storage for your tiny house on wheels. And one of the key features of it is that as we're building out the earthworks here, as we're excavating the trench, which is a big 300-meter loop in this meadow, we'll be putting down a geothermal line, and that'll help to passively warm the water lines in the winter and passively cool the solar batteries in the summer. And so really removing as much as we can some of the vulnerabilities that come with a tiny house on wheels hookup, especially in a rural environment. This is the Shangri Loft. It's a post and beam barn loft that's housed 3 horses at one point. The previous owner had horses here on the property. We pulled out the services, renovated the upstairs, and Abby and I are currently living in it. It'll eventually become the common house. We'll move out of it, and it'll be a gathering for communal dinners and games nights, and it's also the hub for all of the services. The internet dish is there, the garbage and recycling collection is there. We've got a shared washer and dryer as well as a little studio to work from. And just on the north side is a screened porch to hang out on and a hammock to swing on beautiful summer days like this. Moving on from the loft and the porch, we'll head up towards the entrance of the community now and check out the other pad as well as a show home. So final stop of the tour is this show home behind me. This is a Mint Celtic Edition Canada Goose model. We have great relationships with a lot of different pro-built builders. Western Canada has dozens of them that are doing really excellent work. Mint is one of them. We were talking in the winter about how people would like to check out what a larger tiny house on wheels looks like. And so they were kind enough to bring this particular model here to showcase. It's not sitting on a specific pad, it's just in the paddock, but it does look at home. It's 41 foot, 8.5 wide, 13.5 tall. There's 2 entrances, including French doors at the back, and that's where we'll pop inside. You can take a look around. Follow me. They call it a tiny house, but this one is huge, 348 square feet. We're in the kitchen at the moment right now where you've got a full gas burner and a range and oven. You've got a big, you're not short on any space here with your sink and fixtures, a nice fridge. In here is a washer and dryer. You've got, in this case, a ladder up to this loft in the middle of the building. There's another one with stairs. And down here is a full spacious bathroom with a large shower and then a stand-up walk-in bedroom. So you'd be able to fit a nice double or queen-size bed in here, or perhaps make it an office space, and you've got windows on both sides as well as storage for your clothes and other knickknacks. All right, so we're gonna turn around and take a look from the other direction here. Again, the bathroom here with a very large shower. Behind me here, you can see the stairs. These lead up to the loft at the tail end of the tiny house here. Yeah, nice countertops here. And then at the tail end here is basically the living space. So you'd have space here for a couch. You could perhaps have a fold down TV, and you've got these beautiful French doors.
So what differentiates us from other tiny home communities is that we are purpose-built tiny homesteads. There's a concept in permaculture of the edge, and it's where two ecologies meet, and that's the most dynamic area with the most biodiversity. And we think that also applies to tiny living. When you're in such a small space, you need to make use of the outdoors as an extension of your living space. So we really like our community members to take advantage of that and build a deck and build a garden and make that edge space part of their living space. So we've designed it so our members can do just that.
Well, and the community piece too is that many people who live tiny are solo or they're kidless couples. And so being able to socialize, that you're not just parked out in the middle of nowhere, but you have neighbors that you can rely on when things go bump in the night or just to hang out in the winter. Being able to do things socially together with a known group is a very important part of our vision.
And for individuals considering living tiny, I would definitely recommend that they spend some time in a tiny house. That's one of the reasons why we have the Pocket Getaway here, is to experience tiny living and see what aspects of the design work for you and don't work for you. Say if you're a cook, you're probably going to want a larger kitchen, for example. So we have the Pocket Getaway here not only to experience tiny living, but also to get a feel of what it's like to live at Big Com. So we always encourage people interested in living here to come out and visit us and stay in the Pocket Getaway.
If you like this week's episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And check back soon because we have new unique home tours publishing all the time. And if you'd like to join our team and get access to members-only content and unique perks, make sure you click on the join button below.